My name's Glenn. Welcome to the Ozzstar Cars channel. Today we've got a 2011 Audi A4 behind us here that we're going to install brakes on, front and rear, and I want to give you guys some tips and tricks when you're doing it. There's just a couple of things that might be a little different than you're used to, and I want to show you how it's done. Now this is what they call a B8 model or generation. B as in boy. That is the 2008 to 2016 Audi A4. So what we want to do is, even before you jack up the car, it doesn't really matter, but these lug bolts here, there's 5 of them on each wheel, has a cap on it. I left this one on to show you how to get it off. Anyhow, this is what they look like. Just a plastic cap to make this look pretty. And this car is actually missing the special tool that's usually in the trunk by the spare tire. So I had to make my own since I don't own it. Let me show you what this is here. I just took some steel. Actually, this piece here was just out of like a windshield wiper support. And if you look real close, you can see how I bent over the edge. So I've got 2 of these little hook deals. Oop, there's this one. And what you do is you play chopsticks. So you just stick this back in here like this, and I hope my hand's not in the way. And then I put the other one. Now you're gonna need 2. If you just try one, it's gonna be difficult. And all I'm doing is grabbing onto the back of that plastic piece and pulling forward, and boom, pops right off. And that way, they're real thin and you're not scratching the wheel. So that's it. So take all those off. You got 20 of them to remove if you're doing front and back, and you're set to go. Next step, we'll jack it up and we'll zip these out. All right, so I'm happy and excited to show off my new DCF 899 DeWalt impact gun I got here, 1/2-inch job. This is actually the first job I'm using it on, so let's celebrate. Anyway, get yourself a 17mm impact socket, and go ahead and let me put this in mode 3. There we go. This has 3 different settings, this gun, and then zip these off, crisscross, bust them right. These are the lugs here. So lug bolts. Be careful of your wheel. And by the way, when you put these back on, don't use your impact. Go ahead and get a torque wrench and torque these down. On this particular car is 85 pound-feet. So we'll do that at the end. Okay, so our wheel should come off now. I'm on the left front. We're gonna start up here. Give it a good smack. You guys see what I'm doing? Oh, of course you can. There we go. Oh, come on. Sometimes you got to give it a kick. Oh boy. Let me get a mallet. So if the wheel's stuck, I'll grab a mallet like this. It's a soft face blow hammer, I guess you'd call it. And I'm just gonna hit it from behind here, give it a few taps. There we go, bingo. That's all it took. And we'll get this out of the way. So with the wheel out of the way, the tire out, we want to turn, we're doing the left front, so we want to turn the steering wheel to the right. Then we'll have better access to the bolts, to the caliper bolts. I'm just reaching in the car here. With that done, let's go ahead up here, and on the driver's side we want to open up our master cylinder reservoir cap here. That way when we compress the caliper, if there's excess fluid, it has a place to flow. Hopefully it won't flow. What we can do is you can disconnect this connector right here and get this out of the way. Now if this is really high, you should suck out some of the excess before you get going, and then top it off when you're done. So I got you set up on the back of the caliper. We want to remove 2 bolts here. There's this one, they're both 13mm. This guy here and this one right down here. So just zip those out. If you don't have an electric ratchet, you can do it by hand. They're not very tight. So you just get those out. Come on. And they're a few inches, couple inches long. Now this will loosen things up so we can get to the next step. Okay. Ooh, come on. There we go. Alrighty. So with the 2 bolts on the back out, now what I'd like to do is, and you can do it at either point, but I'll take a small pry bar, and there's this clip here, this metal bracket. It's a retainer, I guess you call it. And you want to be careful. Make sure you have your safety glasses on. And what I do is I just kind of work this out here. Hopefully, oops, get out of the light. Let me fix the light for you guys. You get a better view, hopefully. Come on, there we go. And I'm just going to take the tension off. Now, be careful, this has tension. I guess you could squeeze it in this way. And basically what you're doing is there's a little clip right here that's into the caliper. And that's what's holding us up. But this is the way I've done it. And I never had a problem. Once you remove one side, you know, it pops right out like that. You're pretty good to go. Just be careful it doesn't go flying across your shop. So now with that out of the way, you come over here and get some light here. What I do is I take the pry bar. Now be careful, this wire in here is your brake sensor. You want to reuse it if it's not worn out, and I'll explain that in a second when we take it apart. But in here's your rotor, or a disc if you're in England, I guess. And what I'll do is spin this rotor a little bit so I can get some grip, and I'm pulling back on the caliper this way. So what I'm doing is compressing this piston gently, just to give us some space to loosen this caliper up. That should be good, and then you should be able to do this, jiggle it. You know it's good. What I'll do now is, well, it doesn't really matter at this point, but we'll just pop this off. Let's get this out of the way. Let me grab a bungee cord. Alright, had to take my sweat jacket off. It was getting hot in here, so pull this off and just support it for right now. So I got a bungee here, and I'm going to hook it to the strut spring. There we go. So that's dangling right there on the bungee. No extra pressure on the brake hose. So with the caliper supported correctly here, hanging without any pressure there, I want to get this brake wire sensor harness here disconnected from the strut. There's a little bracket, and what you do is you take a screwdriver. I don't know if I can do this one hand, but you just release that right there, that tab, and then this will push down. I'm going to set the camera down. I can't do it with one hand at the moment. I don't think I can. Let's see. No, I'm going to need, oh, wait a minute. I think I got it. Of course, you guys can't see what I'm doing here, but give it a twist and an out. See? I did do it. So it just fits right up in here. And that's now loose. It gives us some slack. So we're replacing the rotor here, and we need to remove this brake caliper bracket, and it's held in with two 21mm bolts. So I've got a 1/2-inch drive, 21mm socket, and these are usually pretty tight. So let me try smacking it. I'm up here beating down on this thing. Let me take a blow hammer. Sometimes that'll help. Let me zoom you out a little bit. So, oops, almost lost you. So you can see what I'm doing. Take a hammer, drive that sucker loose just to break the torque. There we go. Okay, that's that one. Leave that in till you get the bottom one loose, and that's probably going to be the same deal. I'm pushing down with my left hand, and I'm right-handed, and I'm striking the ratchet with my right hand, right? So, and if you can't get it with that, you'll have to get a cheater bar or breaker bar. This one's tight. They're all tight. I guess we don't want the brakes coming off while we're going down the road. Okay. Woo! Almost got myself out of breath with that one. Let me show you. Bring it back here again. All right. Spin these suckers out. Oh man, I must be out of shape. Okay, so that's out of the way. Set this aside, and now we can get to our rotor. Little trick when you remove these, just thread your bolt in, 1 or 2 threads, and then you won't lose them, you know, when they get kicked around and everything else. So, little tip and trick. Let me remove this T30 little screw here that holds this rotor on, holding pressure. It does not look like it wants to go. Oh boy. She's pretty well stripped. We may have to wind up drilling this one out and replacing it later. Let's see. No, it's stripped. It is stripped, son of a gun. We're gonna have to drill it. It looks like somebody has been here before. Wait a minute. I got it. Oh boy. Woo! All right. I was sweating bullets on that one because that would be a little delay. Got it. So we had just enough thread. Oh man, nice. And I caught it on camera. So just keep in mind if this is like stuck or rusty, this little guy right here, and we can just get a new one. When I put it back in, I use Antiseize on these, on the threads. You see how rusty it is? Well, hopefully there's a lot of backlight, but here we go. See that? Ooh boy, come on. That little bit of rust will make your day not so much fun. So anyhow, now we got to get this rotor off, and let me get a hammer. So with our little bolt out, I'd like to take some penetrant here. I use PB. Use your favorite flavor. Just put that right in here around this hub. And then I've got the BFH. It's like a 3-pound hammer. Safety glasses are on. And we're replacing the rotor. So if you want to smack the rotor itself, it's fine. I usually hit the hat right here. This is called the hat. Just to give it a couple pops. See what happens. These are original, I believe. 80,000 miles on the car. And work that lubricant in. And now let's give it a tap in the back since it's not moving. And hit it all around. You may have to rotate the wheel, put it in neutral. But the vibration will shock it. There it goes. You can hear the tone and see it move. Put your hand there. You don't want this dropping. Take that sucker off. And now we'll clean up this hub with some wire brush action, some sandpaper, put some Antiseize on there. We'll be good to go. Get this rusty scale off. This one's not too bad. Your market may vary. So just knocking this off with a wire brush, steel wire brush. And then I'll take some sandpaper. I could bust out the little grinding wheel, but it's not that bad. It might look really bad on camera, but in person it's not that bad. This is an important step so that when you do mount your new rotor, it sits nice and flat, keeps out the wobbles, and that's the main purpose of it here. When you're satisfied with your results, take your, you got a little drip pan underneath here. You got this guy. And just give that a little spray with some brake clean. Wipe it down. That's good. See all that crap? You give the next guy a fighting chance to get that rotor off. Okay, and now make sure you have your paper towel handy. We're going to go with the Anti-Sneeze, otherwise known as Antiseize. I use, that's an old one, but here's a newer one. I use this flavor right here. Permatex. I like that stuff. Some guys up north use copper. I guess the copper holds up better. And just put a thin coating on this. I guess you could hit this with fluid film too, but we'll just make a mess. That's all. You wonder why they don't do this at the factory, right? Wouldn't that make life easier? Say the factory used Antiseize. I guess they wouldn't have that much business then. All right. So I put anti-seize on our little set bolt there, little retainer bolt, and I'm just going to put a little bit of torque here just to hold that in place. It's tight, snug enough to stay on, but not loose enough to fall out. Anti-seize on the threads, and eventually it can get replaced. But what that does is it allows the alignment holes when these lug bolts go back in for your wheels, you know, to line up nicely. And also going down the assembly line, this rotor wouldn't fall off and hurt somebody. So now we can just go ahead and put the brake caliper back on, brake caliper bracket, then the brake caliper. But before we do that and put the pads on, I'm going to show you how to swap over that brake sensor.